Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Andy Cohen reacts to Lee Black's husband Roy Black's passing and shares their pre-Bravo connection. The WWHL host opened up about the passing of attorney and former RHOM husband Roy Black. Following Roy Black's passing, Andy Cohen has reacted to the news. He also shared his unique connection to the famous lawyer and his wife, the Real Housewives of Miami alum, Lee Black. Andy addressed the lawyer's passing on his Sirius XM show, Radio Andy, on July 23. His comments came the same week it was confirmed that Black had died at the age of 80. Black passed away on July 21 at home in Coral Gables after an illness. I also want to say condolences to Lee Black, whose husband Roy Black, the great attorney, passed away yesterday, it was announced. The Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen host said, adding, "And I just want to remind everybody my backstory with Lee Black and Roy Black." From there, Andy reflected on his pre-Bravo career when he worked as a news producer. "I was sent down for the morning show at CBS in the 90s. When there was a huge trial and when there still is, all the networks try to book the jurors," he said. "And so I was sent down to Florida to book a juror in the William Kennedy Smith trial in 1991, prosecuted by Roy Black. The juror I booked was Leah Black." He continued, "She was on the jury, and I guess they were kind of noticing each other the whole time. She wound up marrying him. And anyway, so I always felt kind of a special connection that she many years later wound up becoming a real housewife." Lee married Roy in 1994. As fans will recall, Lee appeared as an original cast member on RHOM on seasons 1 through 3. Roy Black and their son, RJ, also appeared on the show. Shortly after the news of the attorney's passing made news, Lee shared a statement on Instagram. "Thank you all for your blessings," she wrote on Tuesday, July 22. "We will be announcing details for a tribute and celebration of life in a few weeks." In the years following her exit, Lee made a cameo in Season 5, in which she reunited with Lisa Hochstein. Andy Cohen, the man whose voice has become synonymous with Bravo's ever-expanding Housewives universe, has never shied away from speaking from the heart, but this week his usual sharp wit and infectious enthusiasm gave way to something much deeper: heartfelt grief. The passing of Roy Black, celebrated attorney, devoted husband to Real Housewives of Miami star Lee Black, and someone Andy shockingly revealed he had known long before reality television fame, has shaken him in ways few anticipated. A somber moment on Radio Andy. On his Sirius XM show Radio Andy, Cohen opened up about the loss during a live segment that quickly turned emotional. "Roy Black wasn't just Lee's husband," Andy began, his voice catching ever so slightly. "He was a giant. And I don't just mean because of his career as one of the greatest criminal defense attorneys this country has ever seen. He had this presence, this calm strength that made you feel like everything was going to be okay." Listeners, used to Andy's smarky housewives, hot takes, and celebrity gossip, were surprised to hear him delve into personal memories that predated his Bravo days. As he spoke, it became clear this wasn't just a professional loss for him, it was a deeply personal one. One of the most surprising revelations, Andy and Roy's paths had crossed decades ago, long before Housewives was even an idea scribbled on a Bravo whiteboard. "Back in my 20s, when I was a producer just trying to make it in New York, I had this friend who worked in the same building as Roy's law offices," Andy explained. "I'd see him in the elevator from time to time, and I knew who he was, everybody did. He was this larger-than-life lawyer who had defended celebrity clients. But here's what I remember: he was kind. Always kind. I was just some kid in a wrinkled suit, and he'd always nod and say, 'How's your day going, young man?' It sounds small, but it left an impression." This pre-Bravo connection adds a poignant twist to the story. When Andy eventually met Lee Black years later while casting the Real Housewives of Miami, he already knew of her husband. And, in his words, had this instant respect for him that had nothing to do with television. The strength behind Lee Black. For Housewives fans, Lee and Roy Black represented a rare type of reality TV marriage, one built on visible respect and longevity. Even in the most over-the-top RHOM moments, Roy rarely participated in the drama, but stood firmly by his wife's side, serving as her voice of reason and sounding board. Roy was a steadying force, Andy said during his tribute. Every time I'd see Lee on Watch What Happens Live, or at reunions, Roy was there, quietly cheering her on. He wasn't looking for fame. He wasn't looking for headlines. He just loved his wife and their family. It's this devotion, Andy noted, that makes his passing so heartbreaking. Lee and Roy were a team. I think a lot of people secretly admired them for that. Even when Lee would stir the pot on Housewives, Roy never flinched. He had her back always. Andy's emotional call to Lee. Following the news of Roy's passing, Andy immediately reached out to Lee Black. He described their conversation as one of those calls where you don't know what to say, because what can you say? You just tell them you love them, that you're here. Lee, who has largely stepped back from Housewives' life in recent years but remains beloved by Bravo fans, reportedly told Andy that she was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. Lee is incredibly strong, but this is a devastating loss, Andy said. I told her what I'm telling everyone now. Roy Black was one of a kind. Remembering Roy's legacy, part of what made Roy Black unique was his career. Known as one of America's top criminal defense attorneys, he represented high-profile clients and became a staple of courtroom headlines. Andy, ever the pop culture historian, reflected on how surreal it felt to know Roy before Bravo made him a household name for Housewives fans. There was this one time in the early 2000s, Andy shared, I was working late and ran into him in the building lobby. He asked me what I did, and I said, kind of sheepishly, I work in television. And he gave me this look, this really thoughtful look, and said, then go make something great. It's funny because when I think about how Bravo exploded and Housewives became what it is, I always come back to that moment. It was like this little push I didn't know I needed. The Bravo family reacts. Following Andy's heartfelt tribute, tributes began pouring in from Housewives past and present. Lisa Hochstein, Marisol Patton, and Adriana de Mora, all Lee's former castmates, posted condolences online, praising Roy as brilliant and the ultimate gentleman. Even housewives from other franchises shared their love, showing just how deep the Bravo family bond runs. Andy acknowledged these tributes on his Instagram, writing, Roy Black was a towering figure, both in his professional field and as a devoted husband and father. He touched more lives than he knew, mine included. Bravo fans saw only a glimpse of the man he was, but trust me when I say he was even greater off-screen. A moment of perspective. For Andy Cohen, who has built a career around navigating pop culture drama, celebrity interviews, and explosive Housewives reunions, Roy's passing offered a rare moment of reflection. Life moves fast in this world, he admitted on Radio Andy. We're always talking about what's happening, what's trending, who said what. But then something like this happens, and it just stops you in your tracks. It makes you think about the people you meet along the way. Those who leave these quiet, powerful imprints on your life without you even realizing it. He concluded the segment by playing one of Lee Black's favorite songs, dedicating it to both her and Roy. Roy may have been known as one of the best legal minds in America, but to Lee, he was simply her rock. And that's the legacy I think he'd want to be remembered for most.